Over the last month, I've been relocating, at least for a while, trading rainy days for Portuguese sunshine. And so ambitiously, I'm recording this podcast on the beach. I got out of the sea about 2 minutes ago. I realise that might be quite annoying, but I hope there are some nuggets related to energy, vitality and motivation in today's podcast. It's a personal update. Hi, I'm Tony. I'm an author, presenter at Sky Sports, and years ago I went to the jungle and got ill. Very ill. So this is my podcast adventure to find more energy. It's packed with biohacking, science, health tech, supplements, and some of the most well-known experts on the planet.
This is something I spent 4 months of my life doing with electrodes glued to my head so that you can do a lifetime worth of meditation.
Decide what you don't give a fuck about, which is something you don't care about.
Some of it gets quite out there.
I had some stem cells sent up to my house that I had stored, and then I injected myself with mannitol.
And we even hack hangovers.
Alcohol is poisonous. So is water and oxygen in the wrong dosage.
So that's my podcast, Zestology. Live life with energy, vitality and motivation. Welcome back. Yes, so I've had loads and loads of messages from people. Thank you so much for getting in touch and saying, how's it going in Portugal? And that is because the last personal update I recorded at the end of August, and I was in London, and I said, I've got brilliant guests for September and I've stored it all up in advance, and for the next few weeks I'm not going to be doing personal updates because I need to settle into my new home. And this is an update on what has happened since. It is related, of course, to the usual theme on Zestology of energy, vitality and motivation. And perhaps I should just set the scene to start. One of the reasons we moved to Portugal was more of an outdoors lifestyle, a community that we could get stuck into, and the ability to spend loads of time outside. And here we are in October, and I'm recording this podcast. I've just been in the sea. I've had a short dip. It's not exactly warm, the sea here, but it is very refreshing. And I'm now walking along in my swimmers along the beach while I record this podcast. That's a pretty good reason to start. One of the difficult things about this is that I've always emphasised on this podcast the importance of energy and vitality hacks which don't cost much and which are accessible to everybody. And I am well aware that not everybody is able to swim in the sea in October or wants to, because it might be a bit colder where you are today. So I'm sort of acknowledging that is difficult. But we have made the decision to try and design our lives a little bit differently so we can spend more outdoors time and come here to Portugal and create a community as well. So I've got an agenda and it's on my phone, which I'm also recording this podcast on. So let me see if I can tell you what's coming up on this podcast. Firstly, today, going to be talking about the move to Portugal, the challenges of relocating, the importance of routine, and then some stuff I'm thinking about from a energy and mindset perspective at the moment and health perspective. I've been thinking a lot about pattern interrupts at the moment. And if you don't know what an NLP pattern interrupt is, then I'm going to tell you in this podcast, and I think you'll be interested in it. Going to look at grounding in the mornings and sunshine, and an update on the new course that I'm putting together, which I know I've been talking about for quite a long time, and I'll bring you an update on that. So let's start with the podcast on moving to Portugal. Perhaps I should say that it was a slightly hazy morning this morning. Almost felt a bit cheated. Where's the sunshine? But it's just so regular, the sunshine here. We're so lucky. And the haze has just parted and the sun has just broken through. So I've got a bit of completely natural badger sunscreen on my nose and on my forehead. And then I'll be catching a nice little bit of sun for the next half hour while I record this podcast. So after I recorded the last personal update, let me bring you up to speed with what's happened. We rented out our house in London, and I set off in the car at 5 o'clock one morning and drove from London to Portugal, which is quite an undertaking, as it turns out. It takes about 2.5 days, and I didn't have anything booked in terms of accommodation, so I really was doing it on the fly. And the thing is, as much as I love walking along the beach and recording a podcast, ordinarily speaking, I don't actually like sitting in the car and not being able to move my body. That is not something that's high on my list of things to do. That said, it was probably the thing about moving to Portugal that people were most interested in because it's such an adventure. Now, it was a blend of a good old-fashioned adventure with some modern technology, because it got to about 6 o'clock on the first day and I was about 2 hours away from Bordeaux. And I didn't know where to go and I didn't know where to stop, and I hadn't really found any decent places to eat. So I stopped at the services and I got out ChatGPT and I said, could you give me a place that I can stop for a nice dinner, that is quite pretty, that is close to the main road so it's not going to take too far out of my journey and I might be able to stay the night somewhere. And ChatGPT came up trumps and it suggested a place called Saintes, Saintes. So about 20 minutes later I found myself driving off the main road between north and south in France, and driving into Saintes. And I parked up the car, found a restaurant, dusted off my French, managed to order a gluten-free, can't remember what it was, but I think it was like veggie salad and chips or something. I mean, whatever I could get, which was gluten-free. And then I found a beautiful little B&B in the French countryside nearby. And then I got back in the car the next day. And talk about an adventure. I mean, it was amazing seeing how the landscape changes from the lush countryside of France and then the wild Atlantic as you get down towards Biarritz in the south of France, and then through the Pyrenees, which was incredibly rugged, mountainous landscape with amazing tunnels, such long tunnels that the Spanish motorways carved through the mountains. And then I was not prepared for how dusty and desert-like the interior of Spain is. A long time just travelling through the centre of Spain. That's pretty wild, I've got to say. A lot of single-lane roads. Felt pretty much in the middle of nowhere. And then the second night, I rang my wife about 8 p.m, and I've been driving a lot that day. And I said, oh, do you know what? Like, I'm just not really sure where I am. And it's dark. And perhaps you could help me find a hotel. And she found it. She was brilliant. And she came up with a place 20 minutes away in a town called Badajoz, which is on the Spanish-Portuguese border. And I rocked up there. And there was like a massive full-on local party. Oh, I'm just recording a podcast. See you later. All right, see you in a bit. That's so funny. I just walked past Alex and Kirsty from Exhale Coffee, who live out here, and they've been brilliant in helping us settle in, actually, I must say. And they just said, Tony, and obviously I'm the idiot walking along the beach with a massive hairy mic. So I might go and see them for a swim afterwards. So stayed in Badajoz, and I arrived in Badajoz in Spain, and there was a full-on public holiday. It was a sort of day of national celebration the next day, so it was the night before, and everybody was out. It was an incredible atmosphere in the town. Found a lovely little place to stay, and Badajoz is so close to the Portuguese border that the next day I got in my car, and within about 3 or 4 minutes I was in Portugal. And of course you don't have to stop at passport control or anything like that. You just drive over and you're in Portugal. And then a few hours driving that day, and then here I was, and then I picked up Faith and my boy at the airport that evening. And here we are. So we've been here about 3.5 weeks now. Now it is quite windy here, and I'm really hoping that you are going to be able to hear me and it's not too windy, because when I turn around in a sec, it's getting quite vigorous, this wind. Maybe I'll walk closer to the cliffs. That'd be better. In terms of the lifestyle that we've chosen for ourselves, I do think there's obviously a lot to be said for the outdoors element of living here, and that is a really important part of it for us. But another really important part for us is community. Wherever I live, I am a social being, and I like to be around people and hang out with people and feel like I'm contributing, and I'm surrounded by people that I like. It's what makes me feel good. I couldn't live in the countryside anywhere, whether it was in Portugal or UK, if I didn't have a sense of being a part of a community. And what we've found so far is that this place has it in spades. I think we could be very happy here. It's been quite challenging in terms of settling in. I mean, I said relocation is not for the faint-hearted earlier on, and there is a lot to do in terms of getting the visas sorted, getting the school sorted, getting a Portuguese bank account and a fiscal number, and the visas has been quite an interesting process as well. But the main thing is, for me, as long as my son is happy, then I'm happy. And we're sort of getting there on that one because he's got a lovely school and he's learning Portuguese already. And this morning we checked up on every single word that he had for his breakfast. So this morning he had ovo, eggs, bolas de mel, which is basically balls of honey. Yep, it's local Portuguese cereal, don't judge me. Uvas, grapes, and yogurt. So we're definitely making an effort to learn the language, and part of that is I love languages and I get a great pleasure in learning languages. Part of that is for him the cognitive benefit of learning a language so young will mean that his brain just develops pathways and linguistic abilities which at the age of 4 is so natural and you don't get later on in life. And obviously we can then take a full part in the community by speaking Portuguese as well. And actually I was saying to my wife how lucky Stan is, because I went to live in Italy when I was 18, and that was pre-internet, I've got to tell you, and I would go whole days without speaking any English. And of course what happened is that I started to think in Italian, and I started to dream in Italian, and I started to learn Italian very quickly because I wasn't even looking at my phone which had English words on it. And when my son Stan is at school, he's the same. He's not getting that either. So he has got English speakers in his class, but it's a Portuguese school. So we will see how he gets on, and he's doing all right at the moment. And so far, this move has been very good. I was going to get onto grounding later on in the podcast, but we'll do it now. One of the things that is really lovely is to be able to ground and step on the earth early in the morning and get into the sea, which I've obviously done today. And all of that is part of grounding and getting good light, which I think is absolutely lovely and is difficult if you live in the UK. I'm going to work on options, because I'm well aware that I want this to be an inclusive podcast that offers options for everybody who doesn't necessarily want to live in Portugal. For us, this has been a move that we've decided, it's not for keeps. We've decided to come here for a bit, see how it goes. If we like it, we'll stay. The only criteria was that we wanted to move somewhere where we could at least potentially stay for a long time, for keeps. It doesn't have to be for keeps straight away. We can hedge our bets. We've rented our place out in London, but we wanted to at least try it. And if we can do a bit of grounding and a bit of sunshine and a bit of good light in the morning, then so much the better. So that's the personal update. That's what's going on at the moment. I'm padding around on the softest sand now, nearer the cliffs, where hopefully the wind is less and it's not affecting the podcast too much. I mean, one more thing on living in Portugal, and that is the importance of routine. I am somebody who tends to not like to get outside my comfort zone, ironically, based on the fact that that in the last year I've lived in 2 different countries as well as the UK, so 3 different countries. But I have to push myself. It doesn't necessarily come that naturally to me. And when you get outside your routine, it's fantastically liberating and exciting, because you get to try all sorts of new things and you expand and grow. And I think one of the most important components to maintaining an energy and vitality as you get older is a sense of curiosity, which I think can be hard as you get older. And obviously if you come and move to a new country, that is just, that your curiosity gets so fired up For example, I had to go and find some eco-cleaning products in the supermarket a couple of days ago, and it was actually quite fun exploring new stuff. It's not, I know which eco-cleaning products to buy in the UK, and I don't here, so it's a bit of extra work, but my curiosity was fired up and I got outside my comfort zone and went and found some new stuff. Obviously, buying eco-cleaning products isn't a massive example of getting outside my comfort zone, but moving to a different country is. However, what we have noticed is the importance of a routine that you can rely on so that it cuts out unnecessary decisions. Because we've spent so long setting up our new lives in Portugal over the last month or two, my work has suffered. I mean, there's no way around it. Putting together my podcast, my books, and my course, and looking after my business has suffered just because we're not getting, we haven't been having full days of childcare. There's so much to do. I had to go back to England to get our visas. There's just a hell of a lot to sort out. And when you haven't got that consistent routine, it does suffer. So I'm trying to work on the right balance of a routine that I can rely on, a routine that provides the space for me to not have to worry about a load of extra stuff and get the work done, but then enough change in my life to sort of fill the cup and stoke my curiosity. I hope that makes sense. I guess it's a balance between the two. It's very, very important to get outside the comfort zone. But if every day was an adventure going off to see a new place you'd ever seen before, when would you actually get the chance to sit down and do some work? That's what I'm getting at, really. So as life throws its curveballs, there is nothing quite like a good habit to keep us sane. And so now that we are starting to settle down in Portugal, I'm trying to develop some good habits again. And one of those is that, as you know, I have my accountability groups that I have with my wife, and we record how many minutes of meditation we do every day and how much exercise we do every day. And to add to that, at least for the month of October, I'm going to record every day that I ground in the morning and get in the sea. And it doesn't have to be long. I can just get in for 2 or 3 minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes, but just getting in. And let me tell you, when I got in about 3 minutes before recording this podcast, I sort of gasped. I mean, it's not that cold yet. It's it's early October. The sea's fairly warm for Portugal for this time of year, but I still gasped. And then I got out and giggled like a small child who was very happy to have got in the sea, and got outside my comfort zone for that morning, and followed that routine, which I know is good for me. This podcast is brought to you by Viva Rays, and Viva Rays is the all-day protection that is provided by Clip & Go, a world's first 3-in-1 artificial light protection, reclaiming nature's dark and light cycles in one pair of glasses. Definitely worth checking out. Viva Rays. Go to vivarays.com. That is vivarays.com. Feel free to tell them I sent you as well. And I've got my pair of Viva Rays tucked away on my bedside table, and I tend to use them when I remember in the afternoon, certainly by early evening, and then it's a must before you go to bed. And if you forget and open the fridge door or something, it's very annoying. vivarays.com. Now back to the show. Okay, let me check my list. We've looked at the podcast on moving to Portugal, the challenges of relocating, the importance of routine. And now let me tell you a little bit about my course that I'm setting up and pattern interrupts. So as you know, I brought out 2 or 3 books over the last year, and my book Learn NLP is around the 2nd or 3rd best-selling book in the world on neuro-linguistic programming now. And for a long while I've been musing on the fact that I sell quite a lot of books now at sort of, make £4 or £5 a book, and that's lovely, but I don't have anything else to offer people who actually want to learn NLP from me. Well, I do hope you can hear me. The wind is just getting up a bit. It is famous for the fact that it's slightly windy here than in other parts of Portugal. So I hope you can hear me okay. Where was I? Yes, so recording this course has been a small obsession of mine, and over the last few months I've been trying to work out how best to serve you in the course that I put together. And the first idea that I came up with was that I was going to put together a course which was going to be a classic neuro-linguistic programming practitioner course. And that is something I'm trained to do because I've trained to the highest level in NLP. And I know a lot of people that follow me do want to become NLP practitioners. But then I wanted to do it absolutely properly. And if I'm going to do a practitioner course, it would have to be certified. And to get it certified, we would have to do 100 live hours of coaching. And I thought about the sort of course that I wanted to provide and the sort of lives that people are leading that follow me. And then I thought, do you know what? I don't think we can do 100 hours justice. 100 live hours, I think, is too much of a commitment for the sort of NLP course that I think people want to learn. So then I started thinking, and by the way, this process has taken months. I started thinking about what people want to learn from me when they learn about mindset. And it nearly always comes back to the two things that I've been blathering on about for the last 15, 20 years. And that is firstly, mindset and neuro-linguistic programming. And secondly, what we talk about on this podcast, health, and how to combine the two. And I see it so often in this world, and if you're listening to Zestology, you may well be slightly guilty of this as well. A lot of people who are in the biohacking and health space are super healthy already and in great shape. The one area they actually need to work on more than any other is what's going on in their head. Because we're all so type A and so obsessed about optimizing our health that we forget that true healing and true optimizing comes when we can switch off our fight or flight response, switch off our sympathetic nervous system and allow ourselves to start to relax. And by the way, all the science bears this out. The more that your fight or flight sympathetic nervous system is dampened down and the more that your parasympathetic nervous system can kick in, the more you can relax and the less you stress, your longevity increases, your health improves, your health outcomes later in life get better. Everything is better, basically. And all of that is really down to mindset and NLP, which is a long way of saying that what I think a lot of people really want is to be as healthy as they possibly can be, and using mindset to help them achieve that. So the course is called Healthy AF, and it's about healing, optimizing and transforming your health using neuro-linguistic programming and mindset. And I'm putting it together at the moment. It's great fun, actually. I'm just writing the course modules. Some of the content I'm just so excited to put together because it's everything that I've been using in terms of NLP and health for the last 20 years. And now I'm able to teach it to people. And it's all about getting healthy AF. And the reason I called it that is because most of my followers, that is what they are up for, healthy AF. Some people have serious health stuff going on and they really want to heal. Other people, well, they've done their healing already and they want to optimize. And for all of us, we can adapt this healthy AF model to suit our own personal health outcomes. We don't call them goals in NLP, we call them outcomes. And one of the things that is particularly handy, so by the way, the course is going to be coming out in the next month or two, and if you're interested, ping me over an email and I'll try and send you a discount link for being a podcast listener, and I'll let you know when it comes out. But one of the techniques that is particularly helpful in the heal section is an NLP pattern interrupt. A pattern interrupt is when you stop your pattern stone dead and interrupt it so violently and rigorously that you end up going to do something else instead. And a pattern interrupt can be anything from, you're working on, you're writing a book or you're drawing a painting or you're writing a letter, and then you get a text message and your phone goes ping, and you look at your phone and you read the message and it's got a link on it, and you click on the link and it takes you to Twitter or X and you're on X for 20 minutes and all of a sudden you follow a few other links and then you remember, I was writing a letter. That's a classic pattern interrupt. and it's quite hard to get back into your original frame of mind. That is not a particularly positive pattern interrupt. That is something that it's good to be aware of, how pattern interrupts work, so you can switch your notifications off in the first place when you're writing that letter. But a positive way to use a pattern interrupt is with your health. So when we've got symptoms that are troubling us, we can tend to dwell on them, and that will make us anxious and stressed. It will lower our mood, and it will decrease the chances that our parasympathetic nervous system can start to heal. When you're in a fight or flight sympathetic nervous system response, your body is just on high alert. It's on maximum stimulation. You are highly sensitized to the environment around you, and that means your organs cannot go into rest and digest mode. They can't go into healing mode because they're ready to help you fight the metaphorical lion. Once the lion walks off into the sunset, the idea is that your nervous system calms down and the fight or flight response is reduced, and then you can start to relax and heal again. But the problem is, for a lot of us, if we're simply thinking about our symptoms all day long, we're spending 13 hours a day consulting Dr. Google, and I do know about this because I've been there in the past. That's part of the reason I got into all this stuff in the first place. I know how much many of us obsess about stuff. I mean, if you're Googling anything in the middle of the night, then you're probably not allowing your parasympathetic nervous system to do its work. And especially when it comes to symptoms, we can spend so long worrying about how to heal the symptoms, we forget to do the one thing that is really important for the symptoms, and that is just chill out and accept. Now, chilling out is obviously quite annoying. If someone says, hey, just relax about your symptoms. The secret is acceptance, and the way to get there is a pattern interrupt. So one of the things I'm looking at teaching in the course is something that I've used for years, but especially when I got very ill, I did this a lot. And it is every time I was stressing about my symptoms, I would use a pattern interrupt. So I would notice that I was thinking about some aspect of my health that I wasn't happy about. I would say to myself out loud, stop, which is a bit weird if you're on a crowded train, but hey, whatever works. And then I would tell myself what I wanted to do instead, which is I choose to flow from moment to moment and accept. Okay, so acceptance is the most important thing. It's very windy now, so I really hope this isn't too windy. I choose to flow from moment to moment and accept. Acceptance is the opposite of control, or as good as, and that is what we're aiming for with this pattern interrupt. Now, I'm almost ashamed to admit that when I first started using the pattern interrupt, I was using it multiple times a minute. But when I kept using this pattern interrupt, what happened is my brain just learned a new pattern. Because the old pattern was stressing about symptoms all the time, non-stop. The new pattern was stress about symptoms, interrupt, remind myself to accept and move on. And then that pattern just gets changed. So the pattern interrupt is a little piece of NLP magic that is part of this Healthy AF course that is coming to you fairly soon, and I'm so excited about it. I need to find a good spot to record the course here, maybe on my balcony here in Portugal. And it's not going to be particularly expensive. It's not going to be what they call a high ticket course, but it's just going to be a course where you can, every module, every lesson solves a different problem or answers a different question in relation to health using one NLP technique. So you'll get to learn NLP and you'll get Healthy AF. If you're already pretty biohacked up and you listen to this and thinking, I'm pretty healthy already, that's excellent. Then the optimized section for you will be as important, if not, than the healing section. And then there's also just loads of hypnosis sessions that you can do, which is one of the ways that you can truly transform your health. I've been using hypnosis since 2004, and it's not about flying pigs and feeling weird. It is just an incredible way to rewire your brain at the unconscious level. So that is all coming. More on the Healthy AF course soon. If you're interested in healing, optimizing and transforming your health using NLP, I'd love to tell you about that. And that is pretty much it for this podcast. Just a quick reminder, it is brought to you by Viva Rays, which is, Viva Rays is all about light. And when I first interviewed Rudy Nassif, you can hear my most recent interview with him a couple of weeks ago on Zestology. But when I first interviewed him, I was so excited by the possibilities for light, because one of the things about being self-employed and having your own podcasts and writing books and everything else is that you get up in the morning and you look at a screen and you don't tend to do the things like I'm doing now, which is walking in the sunshine on a beach on a very bright morning. But actually, in terms of our lights now, our eyes now, circadian rhythm, that's what we need. And so Rudy's all about natural light in the morning and the afternoon, and then using their brilliant 3-in-1 system, gently easing your eyes into nighttime in a modern world. Because, before the invention of the light bulb, we would sit around the campfire at night and then go to bed, and that'd be it, and there weren't any artificial lights around. And now, of course, there are, and it can definitely mess with our sleep and our circadian rhythm. So if you're in the market for blue light blocking glasses, then Viva Rays are the ones to really take a look at. I've had a couple of blue light blocking companies partner with this podcast, and what I like about Viva Rays is it's one solution, it's one product that you can use all the way through the evening. So you start off with the sort of 50% glasses, and then in the evening you can go to the orange lenses, and then at night you can go red before you go to sleep. And it's just a very, very nice way of winding down your body for sleep. And if you want, I don't necessarily recommend this, but if you want an example of how well it works, get the Viva Rays, use them throughout the afternoon, then put the evening ones on, then put the nighttime ones on, and just before you go to bed, take them off, go to the fridge and open the fridge and look inside and see how you feel. I'm willing to bet that is going to wake you up, and that is the power of bright light late at night, and what happens when you reduce it with an excellent, scientifically proven pair of blue light blocking glasses. It's vivarays.com if you want to get involved. Tell them I sent you, and it's an excellent bit of kit. Well, I hope this hasn't been too much of a ramble. I hope the wind hasn't been too vigorous in terms of the sound quality, and I hope you've got a little sense of what's going on here. I like to keep you up to date with book sales and what's been going on with writing, and I have been doing some of that as well, but I'll keep that for another podcast, because I feel like this one is a bit more of a relocation special. If anyone's interested in moving to Portugal, you can hit me up and let me know. And if you're interested in the Healthy AF course, if you're interested in healing and transforming your health using NLP, and honestly, it is going to be incredible the results you get when you do this method, okay? So the Healthy AF method is just 12 minutes a day. That's what's amazing. And if you're interested in the Healthy AF method, then just let me know, and I'll keep you posted once it gets closer to the event and once it becomes closer to be published. I've been working on this for 5 months, and most of it has just been getting the exact. What it almost is just codifying the exact methods that I use in terms of NLP, and making sure that I can teach that in a way that people understand. Now I've come up with the Healthy AF method. I think that works. So it's 12 minutes a day, and if you follow that for 12 minutes a day, then you're going to be golden. All right, thanks for listening. And next week on Zestology we have Manish Sethi, who's been on this podcast before. He is so much fun, and I recorded that podcast yesterday. It's all about behaviour change, and I think you'll enjoy it. So I'll see you then.